Good evening and welcome to the March 10th, 2026 meeting of the Spack-and-Kill Union Free School District Board of Education. I'd ask that you rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that you remain standing for a moment of silence for the service members that we've lost abroad in Operation Epic Fury. If not for their ultimate sacrifice and the sacrifice of their families, we would not be able to enjoy the freedoms that we do. Thank you. Okay, item 1.03. Mr. Mark Fleischauer is here. His candidacy for the nomination to the Duchess BOCES Board.
Good evening. My name is Mark Fleischauer. I'm a candidate for Duchess BOCES Board. I do know a few faces here. I'm going to be very brief because I have to get to Rhinebeck for my own board meeting. I'm very excited about the future of BOCES, having made great strides over the past few years with new programs and completing their building project. I've been on the Rhinebeck Board of Education for 20 years, and I have served as president and vice president of that board, and have served on many committees over those years. I represent Rhinebeck at the Dutchess County School Boards Association, and I serve as vice president and president of that association. I'm a great believer in collaboration. BOCES is a prime example of collaborative service. And I believe the importance of programs for students who may not be college-bound, such as CTI. I feel there is a great need for programs like those that BOCES provides. I'm employed by ArchCare, the healthcare arm of the Archdiocese of New York, and I'm president of the Rhinebeck Alumni Association and the Rhinebeck Exchange Program, which is a music program for high school students in Rhinebeck area and Rheinbach, Germany. I hope you'll consider nominating me for BOCES board. Thank you very much for your time. And I wish I could stay for your meeting, but I have to get to Rhinebeck for ours. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, item 2.01 is comments from the public on consent agenda items only. Public comment? Any board discussion on consent agenda items? Item 3.08 is the 2026 nominations for the Dutchess County BOCES Board of Education. We did receive a second letter of candidacy just this afternoon. If the board would like to discuss that, we can pull that item from the consent agenda, move on the consent agenda, and then come back to that. Is that something that sounds reasonable? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to pull item 3.08 from the consent agenda. Do I have a second? All in favor? Passes 4-0. Okay, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda less item 3.08? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, that passes 4-0. So back to item 3.08. We just heard from Mr. Fleischauer. We did get a letter from Judy Moran, who's with Weebatuck. Did everybody have an opportunity to read that? It's hot off the presses, so I understand if you didn't. Any objections to modifying 3.08 to include, there are 2 open seats, so those would be the 2 candidates that we would be electing as our, for our candidacy, so. Yeah. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion now then to accept item 3.08, but also adding Judy Moran from Weebatuck Schools as a second candidate for the Dutchess County BOCES Board of Education. Okay, do I? Oh, I'm sorry.
So the nomination form is blank, it's a business status, so we're just proposing to enter their name.
Yes, after the board approve it, I fill it out and then I send it over to Nancy.
I mean, one wasn't added prior to this, so we're both being added, right?
You're gonna vote for it.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor? Okay, that passes 4-0 as well. Item 4.01, we need a motion to take from the table the agenda item 7.02 from the January 13th, 2026 board meeting. That's related to policy 1111.1, public comment at board meetings. Do we have that motion? Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. So it passes 4-0 as well. So 4.02 is our first reading of policy 1111.1, public comments at board meetings. We have a motion to accept that. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye, that passes 4-0 as well. 4.03 is the first reading of policy 7100, which is a public use of school facilities. Do I have a motion on that first reading? Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye, passes 4-0. Item 4.04 is, we get a lot of policies today. First reading of policy 8123, our school safety plans and team. Do I have a motion to accept that first reading? Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye, passes 4-0. 4.05 is first reading of policy 8520, free meal services. Do I have a motion to accept that? Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye, passes 4-0. 4.06, first reading of policy 8505, charging meals and other food items. Do I have a motion to accept? Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye, passes 4-0. And 4.07 is a first reading of policy retirement. I think it's worthwhile just to say which policies that are being retired. That doesn't say it on the main agenda, so just bear with me for a second. Okay, that would be replacing, I'm sorry, these policies were found to be outdated and are no longer required for the district manual. It was 3113.2, food service equipment, 3113.3, subsidized school breakfast program, 3113.4, collection method for school lunch and breakfast, 3113.5, offered versus served lunch, 3113.6, food service management. So do I have a motion for that policy retirement? Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye, passes 4-0. And our last one, 4.08, second reading of policy 3137, credit cards and charge cards. Do I have a motion to accept? Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye, passes 4-0. Okay, thank you. So that brings us to item 6.01. We have a BOCES budget presentation.
Ready? Hello, good evening, everybody. How are you tonight? For those of you who don't know, I'm the district superintendent at Duchess BOCES, Jody Belucia. It's nice to see so many faces that I know and a couple that are new. And this is my colleague Derek Schuline, who is our school business manager at Duchess BOCES. We're really excited to be here with you tonight to talk about not only our administrative budget and our proposal for that for next year, but a little bit about our progress as we've been moving along our journey of innovation, partnership, and growth. So I'm very excited to talk to you a little bit about some new programming that you'll see next year at Duchess BOCES, some new opportunities, and some new partnerships. So we're going to talk about that. you guys already had a little bit of my conversation on our open seats at the Board of Trustees, so you're aware that we have 2 open seats this year. We'll have a seat for Bryce Holland, who is our Poughkeepsie representative, and a seat for Mr. Michael Reel, who is a representative in Beacon. So how the board open seats work, as you know, the Duchess BOCES Board of Trustees is made up of representatives from our component districts. Any district can be represented, but they can only be represented once. They don't have to be represented by a sitting board member, but they do have to be represented by a resident of that district. So I'm happy to, probably you all know, introduce you tonight Ralph Chimento, who is the president of our Board of Education, and he represents Spackenkill on our board. Those 2 open seats, as you might know, nominations are due on the 20th. Districts will vote on those open seats when they vote for our budget on April 28th. So I'd like to just take this moment to invite you all to our annual meeting. If you know you are looking for extra things to do, our annual meeting is pretty fabulous, followed by a meal from our culinary students. And that's going to be at 4:30 on April 8th. I almost said 28th, but that's the date you're voting. April 8th at our conference center on Salt Point Turnpike. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything on this slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Derek. He gets to do the number stuff, and then we'll come back and I get to do the fun stuff. I mean the other stuff. I have another slide? No, no.
Thanks, Dr. DeLucia, and thank you all again for this opportunity to come for a few minutes and talk a little bit about the BOCES budget. My goal for these next few slides is fairly straightforward. I'm going to try to talk through the numbers fast enough that your coffee doesn't have a chance to get cold, but not so fast that it looks like we're hiding anything in the decimals. So really is an overview of the budget process. For us, that begins in earnest in the late fall with internal conversations and budget analyses where we really take a look at current program and try to project what we think those costs are going to look like, provide those services next year. We put that together, develop the coming rates and the rate sheets, and we send those out in January, and those did go out to the business offices in mid-January along with a copy of the services guide. We do ask for that to try to be returned by early April, and the reason being is if we get it by then, it really does give us a good month and a half to go through all of those requests, take a look at what everyone's needs are, and then try to come up with the costs that we're going to have to try to provide those services. And to be able to do that and put together a budget with fidelity and time for our board to be able to take a look at it at the June 10th board meeting. Just as a 30,000-foot overview, we're taking a look at BOCES revenue across programs. Really the largest share of our revenue comes from special and alternative education. That would be a lot of the programs at Salt Point Center and some others, as well as our Resilience Academy. And kind of right across from that, another bulk coming from Plus Contracts, which is really those programs that you purchase from other BOCES through us. For example, big ticket item being like participation in the Regional Information Center, or RIC, through Ulster BOCES. And then kind of down around Learning Tech with the shared hardware purchase and maintenance, my old stomping grounds in ER, which is professional development support, the CTI Center, and then at the top of that pie chart in the blue there is kind of where we're going to focus our attention on the administrative portion of the BOCES budget, which is among the smallest. Just a note on this, the other, aside from the admin and the capital, the other 93.5% or so of the budget is all paid for. It's all revenue generating, paid for fee services, so that is districts like yours purchasing services and us paying to provide them. Made some budget assumptions, as we all do when we're putting this together. First among them being that we do have an open contract this year with our Teachers Association, and so we are anticipating and hopeful for a speedy settlement that is both equitable and financially responsible and sustainable moving forward. Like all of our districts, we are looking at 9.9% average health insurance increase in the premiums. It's important to note that Duchess BOCES does not set that rate. We are a member of DHIC. We are one of the 24 members, just like Spackenkill, and so we are faced with the same rate increases that the districts are facing right now. We're looking to maintain our level of investment in making sure that our kids in the tech center, the Korea Technical Institute, still have access to the latest technology and tools to learn their craft, to maintain our investment in really meeting the growing needs and referrals from the special ed population. We do expect some growth in our early college access COSER. And of course, this year we introduced new safety and security COSER, and looking forward to supporting that rollout in the future. Just a note on discretionary spending. In light of budget situations, we have gone through and really taken a deep look and a hard look to make sure that any expense that is not revenue generating, that we're really taking a look and weighing that is absolutely necessary to move forward.
I just want to make the note that we're only asking the board to vote on the administrative budget specifically. The rest of the budget is not part of the vote, just for any of you who haven't done it before.
So the administrative portion of that budget is, as you can see there, proposed for next year, $7.142 million, which is a budget-to-budget increase of a little over 4%. And I just got done saying we were going to be responsible with the discretionary budget, and then we've got a 4% increase. And really, if you look down to the blue box, you're going to see why that is. And that is the lion's share of that increase is driven by retiree health insurance and Medicare reimbursement costs. Under the law, whenever an employee retires, as soon as that happens, their health care costs are moved into the administrative budget. So you can see that is about 3/4 of the budget and really the bulk of the increase for next year. With that budget, we have to raise revenue to meet it. So you see on the bottom table, you'll see really the bottom number, which is an average increase in the charge to component districts of 4.94%. That number is a little bit higher than the year-to-year budget increase, and the reason for that is that red arrow right there, and that is other revenue. That's really revenue from interest income, and with rates having gone down, we anticipate that being a little bit lower, which then pushes up the amount of charge that we have to make up from the component districts. So taking away the funding, I mentioned that is a 4.94 average. The way that is allocated each district, it might be more or less than that average. It is allocated by our WADA, which is that second column there. Our WADA, for any who don't know, is resident weighted average daily attendance, which is a mouthful of a way of saying basically your student enrollment with some weighting. You look down to SPAC and Phil's line, you can see the share of the budget is just under $300,000 with a $13,450 increase, which is actually an increase of 4.77%, so just a hair under the average. Within the budget, and as Dr. DeLucia mentioned, the administrative budget that you're voting on, there's also separately a capital and rental funding. And while this is not part of what the districts will vote on, it is part of what gets allocated and crossed out to the districts along the same way that the administrative budget is allocated, based on our WADA. And so we do like to show this just for transparency purposes. We are budgeting to include another $1 million transfer into the capital fund, and that's really to handle those kind of mid-size repairs, those things that are a little bit too big for the F&O team to do in their regular maintenance and upkeep on the campus, but not nearly so big as you'd want a bonded capital project. So think like, roof leak repair, replacing HVAC or some windows, that sort of thing. And also $61,200 for rental classrooms within the district's for those programs. I see Dr. DeLucia edging toward.
Yeah, so just fun fact, part of that $61,200 for in-district programs comes back to SPAC and Phil because you host some of our in-district classrooms here in SPAC and Phil to help us take care of our high-school kids. So thank you for that.
So if we just go down, we see SPAC and Phil share on our WADA, a slight decrease in our WADA, which actually led to a decrease in your share of this portion of the budget, 0.05%. So it's a savings of $25. Do not spend it all at once. I just want to wrap up this section by talking briefly about financially what you get back from participating and partnering with the BOCES, of course, in addition to all the services and those benefits that you bought. So last year, SPAC and Phil all in spent a little over $6 million on BOCES services. And as a result of that, in this current year, the district is getting back just under $2.3 million. And that comes from two sources, the first being $558,000 in change, which is surplus. So we took in more in revenue last year than we needed in expenses. And so that does get returned to the BOCES, from the BOCES to the districts. We actually sent those checks out, say about 3 weeks ago. I know that people got them, so they were cashed right away. And the other part of that being BOCES aid. And again, together that came to about 38% of the cost that was spent with the BOCES. I do want to note, though, that the actual number returned is higher than that because it does not count any of the aid based on special ed expenses. Those get returned to the district directly via high-cost aid. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. DeLucia to kind of talk about where we are and where we're going and bring us home.
Thank you. Okay, I told you I get the fun stuff because I get to talk about kids. So, we do like to share with the districts that although our COSERs are not part of the budget that you're voting on, that is a participation-based, kind of like a purchase for the district, we do like to share what your kiddos are doing when they come to us. So we have 17 students from Spack and Kill in our special and alternative education, our Resilience Academy. 7 in our Salt Point Center, which is our K-8 special education center, 1 in our Resilience Academy, and 9 in our in-district classrooms, both here in Nassau and Hagen and also up at Red Hook High School. You have 42 students in our Career and Technical Institute, and we kind of give you the weighted ones on top. So you have 8 of your, so you have a big year of kids who want to go into cosmetology. So you have 8 students in cosmetology this year, 6 in the electric trades, 5 in early childhood, 4 in the construction trades, 4 in culinary, and then another 15 who we have called in these PowerPoint slides this year assorted others. So they're just peppered, probably like 1 per class across the rest of the district. So believe it or not, March 5th was technically my 1-year anniversary in this position, which was really exciting. And that was about the time, sometime in April actually, that we really named and kicked off this journey of innovation, partnership, and growth, and really started to take a really close look at what it is that could be possible if we really worked in a focused way to support those students, to create opportunities for those students who are really the furthest from them, right? So what does it look like when we really partner with our industry partners, with our local governments, with our component school districts? What are the possibilities? And how do we make sure that we can best meet the needs of the region? So, you know, the first is this, we went about the task of strategic planning through our Blueprint for Excellence, and these are our 4 priority areas. The first really is self-explanatory. It's BOCES as the leadership and central service hub, right? We want to be everybody's first call. You know, a great example was just, you know, today, where, you know, the county executive's office was looking for an answer to a question, and instead of reaching out to all 13 component districts one at a time, you know, reached out to my office and said, is this something that you can assist with? So we want to be the first call for our component districts. We also are the first call for NYSED, and sometimes going back to the districts for NYSED. So really, that's really our focus, is how do we expand those services, build those partnerships, and grow together. The second is on talent management and development, both internal and external. And so we have our inaugural Dutchess BOCES Job Fair, or Dutchess County Educator Job Fair, happening at Dutchess BOCES in April. And lots of districts will be joining us. They'll be able to interview on the spot and be able to talk about themselves and show themselves off at their tables. So we hope to see you there. The student engagement and experiences, that's really been the focus of our area, is really creating and expanding those opportunities, making sure that what we're doing is, you know, not only of the highest quality, but the most innovative and the cutting edge. We had a really interesting presentation by a former superintendent who said, and I can't ever let it go, you know, Jody, we don't send them to you. We try everything we can in district to make our students successful. We don't send them to you because we want them to have less. So your programs need to be the best program that we're sending our kiddos to take really good care of them. And that has stuck with me ever since. So I have some very interesting statistics for you. In 2022, we had a total number of 85 kindergarten referrals through the course of the whole year. In 2025, last year, we had 178. we are able to accommodate approximately 40 kindergarten students. So when you think about that number, right, I always say this phrase, it's if not us, then who? That's a lot of babies that don't have placements. I'm sure that Lori would be happy to share that this is true around the state, but that's a lot of babies that we need to find ways to help meet their needs, right? So I would say that leads right into our operations focus. We do have a space utilization study going on. I know we had a wonderful capital project. You just heard the candidate for our board mention it. But we are fully out of space. We're out of bays. We're out of classrooms. And we've got a lot of kiddos in this county who need supports. So if you would be interested, on our website is our space utilization survey, asking our partners what it is that they think, you know, we should focus on moving forward and where we should focus our priorities. And it's really just a thought exchange. It's a simple question. Please take the opportunity to go to our website, which is just dcboces.org, and fill that out for us. We have some exciting new opportunities for students next year, both in our special ed programming and in our Career and Technical Institute. We have our EMT program that started this year. Those students will be considered EMT 1 when they complete. So next year they'll be able to be enrolled in EMT 2. We also have a new exploratory program starting next year. Those are for the kiddos who may not exactly know where they need to land, but they want to go ahead and, you know, explore the different programming and supports at the BOCES. And another really exciting one is our hospitality services program. And that's really a work-based learning program in the hospitality area. That's for the students who may be not quite able to be successful in a culinary arts program, but there's certainly things in the hospitality field that they could be prepared to support and do. And we're really excited to continue to provide those additional opportunities. So those are in the services guide that was sent out for next year along with our security service. Mostly we just want to say thank you and that we appreciate you. I know that it's a really long presentation and I know that there's, you know, a lot of kiddos behind me and they're a lot more fun to look at than I am. But if you have any questions, we're here. We're happy to answer them. We appreciate you and we appreciate your partnership as we go forward and continue to expand opportunities for the kiddos that we serve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, Judy.
Okay, that brings us to item 6.02. We have our budget update from our school business administrator.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's budget discussion will actually present the proposed 26-27 budget. We'll review the various considerations that went into preparing that budget, which includes a proposed vehicle purchase for facilities. We'll take a look at the key budget drivers that comprise the proposed budget. As required by law, we will present a three-part budget, which is your admin, program, and capital pieces. We'll also look at the proposed tax levy that we're looking to have approved that will support the proposed budget. And again, by law, we're obligated to present a contingency budget, and we'll wrap it up by going through the rest of the budget calendar. The proposed budget for 26-27 is $61,142,791, which represents an increase of 3.9 million, or a percentage increase of 6.95%. The proposed levy to support that budget is $34,254,907, which represents an increase of 1.75% over the current year's tax levy. Some of the considerations that went into this year's budget are the salaries for the collective bargaining agreements that are currently in place and estimates for the contracts that we have that will be ending in June of 2026. So we're currently in contract negotiations. I believe there's 3 contracts that end in June of 2026 that we will be negotiating. As just presented, OC Services, their increase in costs and the district's increase in participation of OC Services. We're looking at an increase in contracted transportation based on historical trends. That increase is about 8% this year. Special ed tuition, again, based on historical trends, is about 8%. The health insurance, as also demonstrated in the BOCES budget, is approximately a 10% increase in premiums for Spacking Hill. We don't anticipate any additional borrowings for debt service, and we are looking to replace 1 facilities vehicle. Some other considerations is we're looking to add a psychologist so that we will be able to staff a psychologist in each of our 4 buildings. We're also looking at salary adjustments and per diem rates that will reflect the increase in the New York State minimum wages, and we're looking to also maintain a competitiveness with our districts in Dutchess County. For facilities, we're looking to replace old and damaged facilities equipment. There's also classroom maintenance and repairs, for example, window shades, furniture, smart boards. For instructional needs, purchase of textbooks, hardware, software supplies. We're increasing the use of software and instructions, so that will add to licensing costs. And a lot of the software also have workbooks and textbooks associated with those products. Technology, we're definitely trying to step up our cybersecurity, and our software subscriptions are just to maintain the current ones that we have in the district, and are also supplementing the instructional needs for our teachers. We're looking to purchase a Chevy truck, which we are looking to replace a current 2004 dump truck that we have, which has over 60,000 miles and a lot of frame damage and deterioration and a rotting tow hitch. So we've gotten quotes of approximately $75,000 to replace that truck. The key components of the budget, again, these are the 5 top components of the budget, which historically and again in this year represent about 85% of the total budget. Salaries, health insurance, our BOCES expenses, our 2 retirements, ERS and TRS, and debt service. The key here is these expenses are almost guaranteed. The district does not have a lot of leeway into these expenses. They're given their obligations that we have currently in place. The 3-part budget, administrative program and capital. The percentages have been pretty standard from year to year. The administrative budget is a little over 10% of the total budget, and that's basically the salaries and benefits of administrators, clerical, school board costs, some of the data processing costs. The program budget is always the lion's share. This year it represents a little over 76% of the total budget, and again, this is all of your instructional needs. For capital, those are our custodians, maintenance, debt service, utilities, insurance, and that represents a little over 12% of our total budget. The maximum tax levy that the district could have imposed this year is $34,357,519, which would have been a 2.06% increase over the current year. We are proposing a tax levy of $34,254,907 to support the proposed budget, which represents an overall increase for the levy of 1.75%, which has been where we like to keep the tax levy. It's been pretty consistent and under 2% historically. We are required to present a contingency budget. The contingency budget comes into play if the voters vote down our proposed budget. If the voters do not approve our budget, the board has two options. We can have a second vote and present another budget or the same budget. If that second vote is also not approved, then we are forced to adopt a contingency budget. And the key driver for a contingency budget is a 0% tax levy increase. So what would a proposed budget look like for Spackenhill Hill? The proposed levy is, for the budget that's being proposed, is $34,254,907. For a contingency budget, it would have to be equal to the current year's tax levy, which is $33,665,757, or a reduction in the budget from the proposed budget of $589,150. The reductions to meet that requirement would be a reduction in the equipment allocations of $260,500, reducing the transfer to other funds of $100,000, and a reduction in our overall supplies of $228,650. A contingency budget would then be $60,553,641, which would represent a 5.92% increase over the current year's budget. The remainder of the budget calendar is getting close. The next board meeting, Dr. Fanueli will present the superintendent's recommended budget. On April 14th, we will be asking the board to adopt the proposed budget. May 5th, we will be having the public hearing so that the public can weigh in on the budget. And on May 19th, we will be having the budget vote, and we will be electing one trustee. Information for candidates for people who are wanting to be candidates for the board is posted on our website, and candidate packets are available from our district clerk.
Any questions, comments?
I might just ask just a very general question, regarding what anticipated state aid looks like for next year compared to previous, compared to last year, this current year.
We will get an increase, but the increase will not be as large as it was last year. That's due to foundation aid, where we were being made whole. We are now deemed a whole harmless school district, so our increase in foundation aid is just 1%. But we will be getting about a 5% overall increase in state aid.
Thanks. Question yourself. I like that we're still staying below the 2%, or we're averaging around that 1.75, but our total is going, our total budget is going to go up almost 7% next year, of close to $4 million. And the year before that, it went up 6% at $3 million. And then it was $2 million the year before that at $329, and then 1.5 the year before that. I'm just, I know inflation is terrible and it's really hurting everybody. But we're going up $4 million this year at close to 7%. And part of that is our 1.75. And if we continue in this trend, are we looking at, a 10% budget increase next year or the year after, or, 8% and then 9%? Are we trending in that direction?
We could be. The biggest piece of this budget increase was the 10% in health insurance. That represented almost $1 million increase in and of itself. So a large part of our future budget increases could very well reflect what health insurance is going to look like.
Yeah, a lot of what she showed.
On there, you can see is almost uncontrolled cost. It's the cost of 85% of it.
Yes.
It really is dealing with that. I know DJ also have to be on that board. They're looking at different ways, to try to keep those numbers down as the years progress. There's a couple committees put together to really take a look at that. That's really been the key cost. Good news is we're probably, at least I'm talking to the districts in the county, we're probably either the lowest or the second lowest tax levy in the county. I think some districts have already hit what Jeff was talking about. Some are either at their tax cap or might try to have to go there. So it is a concern, that we've talked about in the past, is that we have a 2% tax cap, roughly. Everything else you see here presenting is either 8% increase, 10% increase. At some point, I think we are going to reach a point where the tax cap may not be beneficial anymore for districts. I don't think we're reaching that point yet, but I think some districts around us might be getting that. We'll see what happens with the 2% tax cap. I don't know how long that can continue for not just us, but for most districts.
See coming down the road that you're probably right, we're probably gonna hit our tax cap at some point. I don't know what's best is, continuing what we've been doing with the 1.75 or staying around there so we don't get hit with the big one later on, or trying to lower it at a point that we have the ability to get it lower.
So we've been trying to stay consistent. If we had a year of really low, and the next year would have to be really high, and have to be right. You can't. It's trying to be consistent. I think helps the taxpayer versus having ebbs and flows and having a 5% tax levy. Do a 1 and the next year have a 5. Just we've always felt it's better for the taxpayers to try to be as consistent as possible. Even with that strategy, we could reach a point where we can't because of what's going on. But Val has done a great job. We look at what we have and how to get by with the best possible scenario for the tax levy as we can.
I guess I just don't understand to a certain extent where we're at a 7% increase of $4 million, and then at the end of each year, we have money that's going into our reserve funds in excess of millions of dollars. So I struggle with that part, and it's probably just me personally. I just don't understand how we have leftover that we're adding into our reserve funds of millions of dollars for the last 3-4 years, or we're increasing it.
Right, a lot of state aid is an estimate. So when I do the budget, I use it based on the government's estimate of what state aid is. There are other revenue sources that are a guess. For example, one of the big ones for us is interest rates from investments. That have been going up, and it fluctuates up, down. There are different instruments that are available to the district to invest in. It's hard to predict a year in advance if those interest rates, what those interest rates will be, and what instruments are available to the district. So a lot of times that's a fluctuation of our revenue. When BOCES just presented their budget, they gave a number of a BOCES surplus that comes to the district. BOCES doesn't know what that number is until the end of their fiscal year, so there's no way for a component district to factor that into our revenue. So there are just revenue streams that are unpredictable, and we go into the budget season with estimates. And fortunately for us, a lot of times, we do have that extra revenue. Going forward, that's not necessarily a guarantee. Sometimes state aid will be exactly what it is and not extra during the year. That BOCES surplus may be a lot less than it was the year before. So those kinds of revenue streams, which gives us that surplus at the end of the year, are a little bit hard to predict.
Well, I'd say we've been lucky the last couple of years with the amount that we've been taking back in surplus with it. But it's hard to see a 7% increase to our budget of $4 million, even though it's only 1.75 of our tax levy going up. And just seeing that trend going in that direction, us trying to do what we can to keep it as low as we can, especially when we're, again, having a lot left over each year. And I know that's hard to predict, and really it's almost gambling at that point to go totally south on us. So I do appreciate it staying under the 2 or averaging the 1.75. I just I really wish we could try to get it as low as we can, especially with the tax levy. I'd rather see that go down than stay the same each year for have a surplus each year. Just me personally.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of thoughts, about the general situation and in the context of what Jeff is saying. I mean, one, those capital reserves that are funded are in part a hedge against costs that we know will be coming in the future. The electric bus issue is one we talked about before, and that's a huge, potentially huge cost in the future that we have to be prepared for. So I think it's prudent, to have money in reserve for that reason. And my understanding is that the increase in the healthcare premiums is magnified now because during the COVID era, the pandemic, those increases were quite low. In fact, flat, for a number of 2 years.
Yes.
So the increases that we're seeing now seem all the more dramatic and account for the sudden, jump in the size of the budget.
And prescription costs seem to be the big driver in the cost of those increases in healthcare premiums. I mean, a couple of months ago, they estimated the increase to be 16%. It's down to 10, which I was happy to hear.
Yeah. And this is an issue our entire country is struggling with.
Yeah, all healthcare costs are going up, all healthcare premiums are going up. And fortunately for us, a 10% is a big hit to a district this size.
And that is something we do have some control on, though, as part of the contract negotiations as well, so.
We have, yes, part of the contract states how much an employee will contribute to those costs. Yes, that's a contractual obligation.
And we also have control of that being one of the biggest budget factors going forward. We may have to be a little more cognizant of that as we move forward.
A couple of the factors to add that Val was talking about is some of those reserves also, I don't speak to this year, but probably a little higher in the past because of some COVID money that we were able to use during the school year, which doesn't exist anymore. So some of that might not be as much. I anticipate that being true.
Oh, yeah, the COVID money definitely contributed to it because we used the COVID money to cover expenses that would have ordinarily been covered in the budget. So that accounted for a surplus. And then with the foundation aid, with them making districts whole over the last couple of years, there were tremendous increases in foundation aid from year to year. So that provided extra income for each district, and this district chose to put that money into reserves for anticipated capital projects, anticipated electric buses.
Which was common around the county, but those two factors are now negated. There's no more COVID, and foundation aid we're now whole after 1%, like she said. So I don't think, I don't know, I don't think the savings at the end of the year will be as great as it has. And most of the districts in the county did very similar to what we did when they had those COVID funds to do that. Something else to consider, and something that has really helped us as far as our aid, has been the economic wealth of our area has gone down, which has helped us with aid, and our enrollment has gone up. A lot of districts' enrollment has gone down in our county. We've kind of seen that trend in New York State as a whole, New York State. Dutchess County has been a little more stable than some other areas. I think some people from the city move up to settle in Dutchess County versus staying in the city with the whole work from home a little bit. So we've been very good for Spackmanville. At least is helping us with some of our budget lines. Some of that could change. Like if our wealth ratio stays the same or goes up, you'll see. I think next week's board meeting, I'll talk a little bit about that. You'll see the trend that we have seen 10 or 20 years. However, enrollment has been increasing, a little bit stable. Don't know. We are seeing some kindergarten enrollments going down over the past few years. There's less children being born. But our enrollment has gone up. And I think all that stuff we said, that could change, you know? I think it's a good solid budget for this year, you know, we're working and also setting us up for next year, you know, and the year after. Not super low, where then we'd be in jeopardy a year or two or something, or something happens, but not so high as most of the districts in the county, because they've already reached some of those points. If you're very low and has been going down, you have less aid, it's really a key factor for everything. So that's the good news. Will that trend continue? Our lease will be stable. The tuition program has helped.
You know, for just a bit of perspective, I mean, at the NISBA's business meeting this year, that, you know, that I've attended for a number of years, but this year in particular, there was, in the context of the various resolutions that were discussed, there was a lot of discussion about, you know, the crunches that a lot of districts are facing and the prospect of, you know, the unsustainability perhaps of the 2% cap. There's really a lot of concern, you know, that I heard at that meeting. And I hear that at the Dutchess County School Board Association meetings that I attend as well, and here in our own district. So I think a lot of districts are facing the music, you know, in a way that you've been discussing.
And a lot of the lower Hudson, you know, superintendents of the 4 counties, you know, Westchester, Putnam, Rockland, and us, foundation aid is like huge, you know, for the state aid in general for a lot of districts. Really good. So really, that governor's budget, you know, everything is like, you know, contingent upon something else, contingent upon something else. So sometimes, like when that budget doesn't get passed, you know, we've got a few years where it takes a long time and we're kind of waiting, and luckily some of the things that we thought could have happened didn't happen. But there's always that feeling, you know, Val and I talk about it, like when it's not set, you know, you don't have that good feeling. So those are the type of things that we deal with basically every day, trying to figure out what's best. All that being said, inflation's high. A lot of what Jeff said is also true too. So it's really just trying to do that balance and trying to be as consistent as we thought that it's best for the district.
I think we're lucky to be able to do a 7% or a $4 million increase, but only have a 1.75% increase for a tax levy. And we're not having to max out at that 2 point whatever percent that it is. I just would be interested to see what, where the numbers came from to get up to, that amount, and what we can do to try to get it lower if it's possible, instead of trending at the 1.75 and trying to get it back down to, you're at a 1.66 at one point and a couple of 1.7 at one point, so just seeing what we can do.
It seems like every year we talk about the uncertainty of foundation aid, that from the governor's budget. You also have to worry about the IBM pilot. I think when I first got on the board, the pilot probably was somewhere around 12% of our budget, and now it's probably down here around 9 or so. So I don't know how that negotiation is going to go, what that number is going to yield for us in the future. But that's something that we might have to overcome next year as well. It's a lot of uncertainty right there.
There will be stuff to overcome in the next 2 years.
Anyone else? Okay, that brings us to 6.03, your secondary administration update. Paul.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, as always, for having us here tonight. It's good to see Mr. Gerard's class of former Todd students. They probably don't remember the library being this small, but yes, the library is actually this small. Some of you probably have not been here since you were in 8th grade, so welcome back. Tonight, I want to talk about the AVID program, which we haven't talked about in a while at a board meeting. But first, I just want to give just 2 quick updates for upcoming events at Todd. One is Willy Wonka Jr. which is going to be our play. That is this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We do a double cast because there's that many students who are involved, which is pretty rare at a middle school to have a double cast of the entire play. As always, there's about 100 students who are involved in on stage and behind the stage, so we're really excited about that. Drama department does a wonderful job. Also, next week, the 18th, 19th, and 20th, the 8th grade will be going to Washington, D.C., so we are looking forward to that trip. As always, the social studies teachers do a wonderful job with that. A lot of districts no longer offer it because of the cost involved, and we're grateful that that we're able to do some of the things we're able to do because our social studies department is our guides, so we don't pay outside guides, and they've been doing it. I think it's been about 40 years. It's been a long time. We had our parent meeting last week, and there were 3 parents who were on the trip when they were here, which is kind of fun. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those 2 upcoming things. So AVID, which believe it or not is now our 4th year, is a program that it started at Todd in 7th grade. So I'm speaking both as the principal of the middle school, but also as the district director for the program, because the program now is in 4 grades. So we started off with a cohort, I believe the first cohort was 16. We now have over 60 students through the 4 grades, which is really exciting. And what the what AVID is trying to do is trying to give students kind of extra push and to help with a couple of different things. One is their relational capacity, which is kind of just their way of, because as we know, school isn't just about kind of book learning, it's about interacting with others, it's about being able to be in a relationship with others. A lot of how you succeed in the world, achieve in the world is through those things. So one is about relational capacity. Another one is opportunity knowledge, is giving students the ability to know like what they don't know and what they need to know. Because while there are plenty of students who have the supports to help them with those things, there's lots of students who don't. And that's part of what AVID tries to do. In terms of educators, what we're looking at is insisting on rigor, breaking down barriers for students, advocating for students, and aligning what we do. And we got 4 great teachers that are doing that. We got Andy Vlad, Jesse Murphy in the middle school. We've got Randy Calderon and John Shanks up at the high school. And they've been doing it's been great. The program's been great. The students have been doing a wonderful job. Kind of AVID stands for Achievement Via Individual Determination. And it really is about the individual. AVID isn't, it's not like extra help. What AVID does is it gives you the tools, but you have to want those tools. So there is you have to apply to be in the program, you have to be interviewed for the program. You have to maintain your grades and your behavior to be in the program. In addition, it also is kind of what we were excited about AVID to begin with when we looked at it. It was really about 7-8 years ago when we first started looking at it. It's able to go school-wide. So even though we have 4 teachers who teach the elective class, we've had 13 staff members be trained in various ways. So it's not just something that happens in, say, an AVID program for those 60 students. Kind of all teachers start to learn about it. In addition, we've also both Mr. Lewis at the high school and here at the middle school, we've done professional development in AVID because it gives us lots of great. So the entire staff have had professional development on some of the AVID tools that we use. And basically, academically, what it looks at is, well, it's called WICR, and WICR is writing. It is writing, collaboration, organization, and reading. And why is the I blanking out? What's that?
Inquiry.
Inquiry, thank you. And inquiry. So those things are the things that, for the students that we're trying to kind of bring into their lives and make sure that is something that they have moving forward. What I want to show you this evening is some of the highlights, because there's been so much that has been going on that, it's sort of, I think you get these. It'd be really good if you haven't yet to just kind of look at it. We're just kind of flash through them. But there's been so many wonderful things that have been going on with the program that I wanted to highlight some of these. So this is a newsletter that Mr. Shanks created. that just kind of goes through all the different things that Avid students have been involved with. So they do, so we have advocates from the middle school and high school go down to the Hagan Elementary and to Nassau for Positivity Project. So they lead the students, so it's wonderful. They get to see the teachers that had them back years ago, get to see them in that capacity. We have had various different speakers. I'm not going to go through all the names, but you can kind of look at it later. We've had mock job interviews. We kind of keep flashing through. We've had a couple of different job interviews. They've gone to businesses. Back in December, we had a big mixer. So we had an Avid mixer. We had the entire grades 7 through 10 here for a pizza party, which was amazing, having all the students together. We did a trip to SUNY New Paltz. There was a mentor program at Hagan that we do. We have had various other speakers. This one here is Angel of Light, which is a program for volunteers and opportunities in volunteers. They had that for 9th and 10th graders. We go down to, there was more Hagan and Nassau P2 meetings, more speakers. We had the Arlington Fire Department visit our 8th grade students in the fall. We were really pleased to have both the president and the vice president of the Todd Middle School were both Avid students this year, which was exciting. We had, in the fall, we had the FIT program, which was done by the Dutchess County Health Department. So we had students involved with that, which was a wonderful program. We did, I mentioned the after-school PD for high school staff. We have a mentor program down at Hagan, which includes our high school students. And we had the 8th grade went to Vassar. So that was just the first semester of school. So looking at and then you kind of go through, and keep going. We have the, keep going. Those are we do student of the quarter at Todd, but we also have Avid student of the quarter. So those are our Avid students of the quarter. And then if you can jump on to semester 2. And this is kind of hot off the presses because they were just at SUNY. The first one was going to be a trip that the students went to SUNY Albany, which was yesterday. So they went to, so if you want to scroll, so we had the students, we had 10th grade students up at SUNY Albany, that was yesterday. We've had students meet with various different businesses. We've had Sparrow's Nest. They did a podcast with the 10th grade during the second semester. We also highlight some of the things that we do in the classroom, which is part of what Avid does is they do what's called study sessions. That's where you take what's called a point of confusion. So if you have something going on in school that you don't understand, you bring it to your classmates, and that's part of it's a tutorial process. So instead of the tutor typically would be, say, an adult or a college student, the adult is just facilitating. It's the tutoring is happening amongst the students themselves. We had more speakers and student of the quarter. Mentorship continued down at the elementary school. We had our so what we do for Todd going into 7th grade is that's when we kind of put the information out about Avid, and we have informational meetings because it's our 6th grade incoming to 7 that begins the program. And we had an informational meeting a couple weeks ago here, and we had another Avid speaker that also, we've done this a couple of different times, that they do mock interviews. So we have the students do that. And also, Mr. Sousa came down and did some mock interviews for us too. So as you can see from the breadth of it, and like I said, I went through it really fast because I know I don't want to feed you all night. But if I know that you get these, and I encourage you to please go through them and take a look just to see all of the different exposure that the Avid students are given. And we're really lucky because Spakenville is a great district to support Avid. So many of the things that Avid wants, that Avid looks for schools to be able to do, we already do in many ways. So it's a really nice program. I didn't talk about sort of student achievement in this, but the student achievement data has been pretty remarkable. And we've been really happy with where the students have gone from when they were in middle school to where they're in high school, advanced classes, and, you know, being in honors classes, and being on a roll and all those things. All the things that have really, we've been really pleased, really happy with it. And I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank the district office and the Board of Education for your support of the program. This cohort model will continue. So what will happen is we will, you know, our current 10th grade will be the first graduating class in 2 years. And the cohort model is really powerful. I mean, I think we lost one student, and that was not because, and that was because schedule-wise, she couldn't be in Avid, but all the students that were in 7th grade are still in Avid in 10th grade, which is pretty remarkable. And, you know, I want to thank Mr. Lewis and Ms. Moy for their support, you know, moving into the high school. That was a big move 2 years ago, and, you know, that's where we were like, is this going to be sustained? And we're really grateful, you know, that Mr. Shanks was able to go up to the high school. So all of the things are really supported. So I want to bring you up on that. And again, thank you, and I'll take any questions that you have on the program. Thank you very much.
How are we all doing? Thank you, everybody. It's a long night. Special shout out to Claire. You see your peer here. She does this every board meeting, and she does it very well. Exactly what we would want in a student board member. So, as you are dismissed, maybe just give a quick acknowledgement to Claire. Yeah, you can, if feel free to stay if you want to, but thank you all for coming. All right, just piggybacking a little bit on Avid, we did visit, I had the opportunity to go with the group yesterday to SUNY Albany. It was a great experience. We're really trying to have some sort of college visit every year for each grade level. And we start with Dutchess Community College and kind of see all the colleges in the area. We're looking to do probably one more next year, but then the 11th grade and 12th grade really shifts into giving students the skills to obtain what they want to out of high school. Works with scholarships, that kind of stuff, but we're going to take a break with the college visits at that point and focus more on skills as they navigate out of high school. They also, our teachers went to FDR, Ms. Moy scheduled it to go there and to look at 11th and 12th grade electives as we shift into those sections in the next 2 years. So Avid's awesome. It's been a great experience. There is one story I want to tell. We were all sitting in the cafeteria in SUNY Albany, and our students, 16 of them, 18 of them, were in different groups around the cafeteria, and Ms. Gates and myself and Mr. Shanks were eating lunch together, and we watched the other students talk the entire time. And I walked over to one of the tables, and maybe 2 people had their phones out, but they were upside down on their table. And I was just talking to them, like, this is interesting, because 2 years ago it would have been a lot of doom scrolling on sitting at the table in corners or not really talking to each other. And all the students were like, that's really interesting. Like, they're realizing they're untraining themselves because the phones aren't banned there, but nobody had them out, and they were all hanging out, talking about the experience. It was really awesome to see, and it kind of makes us realize that what we're doing here matters and it's working, and the kids are really happy about that. So just the thing about the cell phones. If you can just switch to the next slide. I'm trying to keep it simple, just have one slide. I know it's a little bit of a collage, it's confusing, but on your desk is just a copy of our SPAC newsletter. Ms. Gerard is here, one of our advisors. So I did want to just provide everybody with a copy of that, just to see the work that's done with SPAC News and what the students do. It's really cool. There's a lot of different articles that are completely, the whole newsletter is created by students, different opinion articles, things going around the school. So I figured I'd give everybody a copy to check that out. And thank you to Ms. Gerard and Ms. Fahey for running that club. They do great work, and it's very extensive and gives you some insight into the whole social life of school. So Black History Month, I want to acknowledge that. We had our 4th Spirit Week, Jersey Day, Collegiate Wear, Color Day, Throwback Thursday, Blackout Friday. It was a great experience. Kids participated. We're going to continue doing that. It's a nice little moment in the middle of the school year to stop, recognize the importance, and do something fun at the same time. Right on the right before Kindness Week too. So we follow up Black History Month, Spirit Week with Kindness Week. Part of that too, YAR, Youth Against Racism, has been holding Matcha Mondays. So after school, they are selling matcha to the students. It's been a great hit. Kids love it. I don't particularly love it, but it's an acquired taste, I guess. But it's popular for sure today. So they've been doing that, and it's awesome. We have March Madness in the library going on right now. So students are voting different book titles, most popular books of the year, to find out what's going to be the #1 most popular book in SPAC and Kill. That is going on every week. They're voting. Science Olympiad. I had the opportunity to go to John Jay a couple weeks ago for Science Olympiad. I've never been there before. I wanted to check it out, and it was very similar to my experience, and I've talked about Nice Tea, but in the science realm. So it's very intensive. There's a lot of competitions going on all over the building. It was that John Jay held it this year, and I do want to just acknowledge the students that performed there. SPAC and Kill A and B teams performed all very well. They made it to states. Some of the students were most likely here tonight. Anna Haradavara and Saeed Hussein placed 4th in astronomy. Nathan Steckman and Caleb Wu placed 2nd in Bohm Lever. Max Yin and Anna Haradavara placed 3rd in Chem Lab. Fatima Shoab and Mateo Scala placed 8th in Chem Lab. Hannah He and Derek placed 8th in Circuit Lab. Adil Anoff and Adam Kershid placed 3rd in Circuit Lab. Bella Yao, Anna, and Saeed Hussein placed 2nd in Code Busters. Ethan Lan, Joshua Park, and Jerry Lynn placed 8th in Code Busters. Raisha DeJorna and Adam Ma placed 2nd in Designer Jeans. Adam Ma and Adil Anoff placed 3rd in Disease Detectives. Bella Yao and Andrew Park placed 2nd in Dynamic Planet. Anna Huang and Ethan Sang placed 3rd in Entomology. Saham Chowdhury, Saeed Hussein, and Andrew Park placed 3rd in Experimental Design. Anna Huang and Max Yin, 7th in Forensics. Olivia Lin and Angela Huang placed 5th in Forensics. Morgan Agosta and Raisha DeJorna placed 4th in Helicopter. Morgan again and Max placed 1st in Machines. Ethan Lan and Devin Wang placed 7th. Machines. Saeed Hussein and Max Yin placed 1st in Material Science. Adil and Caleb placed 2nd in Remote Sensing. Adam Ma and Adam Kershid placed 7th in the Robot Tour. Ethan Sang and Caleb Wu placed 1st in Rocks and Minerals. And Nora King and Allison Lee placed 1st in Write It, Do It. And I just felt it was important to state all their names because it's all day, very intensive. And it's just great to see so many schools supporting each other too. It is a competition, but everybody's there socializing, supporting each other, watching the experiments that are done. And it's just overall a very positive environment. If you ever have the opportunity to go, even for an hour or so, check it out. It's really a great experience. Also on the board, there's some art. We are around the school putting up putting up strips to allow us to hang more student artwork rather than just have them take it with them and really show what our students are showcasing rather than just like one night where it's the art show. So we upstairs, we have those now. And that's just some artwork that gets done throughout different projects throughout the school year. And then we have the big showcases for the art show and that kind of thing. But there's so much done that we don't get to see. So we're taking this opportunity to showcase the students, their names, the point, the meaning behind their work upstairs in the 200, 400 wing. And we're going to create a section that is kind of like a showcase area that will look differently, will be painted differently by the library to do just that. So that's kind of the start of it, but we're really trying to highlight all the different art classes. Our Scholastic Art Competition at SUNY New Paltz on February 6th. Our students their work will be displayed. It was displayed until March 1st in the Fine Arts Building. Our art students also sent letters to veterans recently, so at our Art Honor Society. I do want to mention a little bit about safety. We currently, right now, in the high school, have 50 CPR certified teachers. That coincides with some of the new laws and regulations that are in place with CPR certifications, and we really, thank you to Mr. Lanzoni, we worked real hard to provide opportunities, and many of our teachers took advantage of that. So we feel really confident in the building that we have so much knowledge when it comes to that. And also, 3 of our math teachers, I found this super interesting and it's new to me. This past weekend, were certified in youth and teen mental health first aid through SUNY New Paltz and the Maya Gold Foundation. So if you're not familiar with that foundation, a student in New Paltz, mental health tragedy, they've created this foundation, and what they do is they teach students how to manage peer-to-peer if they have friends that are dealing or struggling with mental health issues, and they have a program for teachers to get certified in it. And 3, Miss Sargent, Miss Gateson, and Miss Gall, our math department went together to get certified in that because they find that it's going to help them kind of arm them with some strategies to help their students in the classes, even though their focus is math. So I think that's going to be a trend moving forward. They said it was a great experience, and we're going to recommend that to many of our teachers moving forward. Our counseling department just had their 8th grade parent night for Todd parents, and they went over graduation, high school diploma requirements. Students in grades 9 through 11 made their elective course selections. We celebrated National School Counselor Week at the beginning of February, and our mid-rank is being worked on, and counselors are going to send those transcripts soon. Lastly, Mahal basketball champions, very proud of our basketball teams, boys and girls, and successful run with the Mahal championship. And Mean Girls, April 17th, April 18th, and April 19th. It's back in Kill High School, looking forward to that. Come join us. And next board meeting, Science Research will be here to kind of showcase some of what they're working on for our science symposium.
Next one or the one after?
24th. It's just going to be out here.
Your presentation.
Just going to be out in the lobby displayed. Thank you.
Correspondence, 2 different letters of candidacy for the Dutchess County BOCES board. We also had a correspondence, student-related, which is being handled by our administration. 7.02 is comments from the public on non-agenda items. Public comment, non-agenda items. 7.03, any comments from the board?
I've got a couple comments. One, I had an opportunity, Ken mentioned the Science Olympiad, I had an opportunity, my wife and I, to go to that event at John Jay and help out as volunteers, and it was really fun. Second everything that Ken said, really enthusiastic group of kids, wonderful to see. I mean, athletes and get a lot of attention typically, and this was so great to see an event like that where, students are passionate about science and really enjoyed, their time there. It was really fun to see, but I mentioned it also because there were a good number of parents, from the community that were there helping as well. Ms. Matz does a good job of recruiting volunteers, and she helps, put that event on from the judging side and so forth. Ms. Tremblay was there judging, so it was fun to see some old teachers and some parents from the community too, so I really enjoyed that. And then secondly, I attended the Dutchess County School Board Association meeting last week. It was on the 5th. It was an interesting meeting, as I think was noted earlier. The main agenda item was an opportunity for all representatives of the school districts to Dutchess County to talk a little bit about how committees work within their boards. Found it quite interesting, a real variety of approaches, and I'll just try to keep this really truncated, but there were 11 of the 13 districts represented at the meeting, so pretty much everyone, plus BOCES. And the numbers of committees that the districts have range from 2 to 11 committees. A couple had 10, one I think had 11. I described our 3 committees, the audit committee, the policy committee. I described the rotational structure of our policy committee. People found that interesting, and the safety committee. It's maybe worth noting that, that sounds like a lot. I mean, there were quite a few districts that had 10, 11 committees, but we are by far the smallest committee, or the smallest board in Dutchess County. All of the other boards are either 7 or 9 members. So I think that, in my mind anyway, accounted for why there's more of a division of labor amongst those larger boards, and maybe a proliferation of committees on some of those boards as well. Now, to be fair, some of those high numbers were skewed a bit by district-wide committees. People didn't necessarily distinguish between board committees and district-wide committees that board members sit on. And they also, kind of lumped together standing committees and ad hoc committees. So I suppose if we considered ad hoc committees, we'd have more than 3. But real interesting sort of variety. And the only other thing I guess I would emphasize is that a couple of districts have curriculum committees that are district-wide, I think, in every case. It's a minimum, or a minority rather, of the districts that have curriculum committees, but that prompted a number of questions and some robust discussion amongst all the people at the meeting about the roles and responsibilities of the board. When we started talking about curriculum, people had some real questions about the appropriateness of boards getting involved in curriculum, how that happens, and so forth. So a lot of, I would say, concern as well as questions. And most of that concern, I think, was mitigated by the fact that those are, in the cases of districts that have committees, curriculum committees, they're district-wide committees where board members are sitting in on the committees and learning more about the curriculum rather than making decisions about it. That was the big concern, the boards being in a position of influencing curriculum or shaping curriculum, and a lot of people felt very strongly that the board shouldn't be doing that. But that was one focal point, a pretty robust discussion about that. So, interesting discussion. Very
We're
interesting.
responsible for approving curriculum.
Yeah, right.
So how does that, what's the concern? I'm just curious. Is it,
Well, the concern was when several people mentioned that they had curriculum committees, questions immediately arose, well, what are your curriculum committees doing? Are they involved in learning about the curriculum, or are you approving curriculum? One of the districts that has a curriculum committee mentioned that they talk about books that are selected by the English department that the students read, for instance. Yeah, and that's how the discussion sort of evolved, was more about information gathering versus making decisions.
so kind of getting into the nuts and bolts instead of the big picture?
Yeah, right. And what I didn't necessarily speak to that myself, but my personal response to that was that, we hear about our curriculum through the presentations that we get at our meetings, at our public meetings, and we hear about it kind of as a full board. Whereas some districts have formed committees, of district members and staff and board members included, so learn a little bit more about particular curriculum issues. Some districts take a similar approach to personnel issues. regarding tenure, not so much hiring, but tenure as well. That's for some discussion as well. So, interesting.
Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Mr. Lewis, got a question for Mr. Lewis. The three math teachers that went and got certified, you said it was for a peer-to-peer. So do they come back with that certification and kind of like work with the students to work on peer-to-peer?
No, so the My Gold Foundation has a program to train students, teens, and even youth, younger than teens. And then there's also like a separate, I guess, training day where they bring staff in to educate them on what strategies they teach to the students so that they can kind of use that in the class and on the fly, rather than typically what happens now is like if there's some sort of issue, we very quickly go, well, let's get the school psychologist or school social worker or administration involved or school counselor, where now it's just kind of like another layer. A teacher has a little bit more confidence to ask a question and find out a little bit more information and hopefully help, or to de-escalate something in the moment that could potentially happen.
That's great. I appreciate them going for it and taking their time to go there. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I only found out about it yesterday at Albany when Miss Gateson told me, and they had just gone Saturday, so I don't have a ton of information on it right now, and I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, well, tell them thank you.
Yeah, I will, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to comments from the superintendent on 7.04.
I'll stick with the announcement of thanks. Jeff kind of started just today. Before I talk about today's presentations and things, but learning about the Science Olympia and the Spackey Hill presence that's down there. You know, I know that a lot of our retired teachers, you know, Miss Matz, Miss Prisco, you know, they helped run it. These were our teachers who, you know, helped create our own Science Olympiad. And I remember correctly, years ago when I was principal there, we actually went 2 years in a row to nationals with Science Olympiad. So it just seems, it's just great to see that their passion in retirement is still there, that they're going. And thank you for going. And Ms. Treplay, I didn't know was there, so that's actually pretty cool that a lot of our teachers are still doing that. And just thanks overall, you know, kind of talking about the presentations that happened today. So first, thanks to Val, you know, for her diligence with really looking at that budget. I know, I see firsthand, you know, everything that goes into that and all of our meetings, trying to get that to where it is. Thanks to Dan and all his work with Avid. We're starting to see, you know, his passion really come to fruition. We really dealt with setback, you know, with COVID came and we had to push it back a year and this, and we stayed with it, and I really think that has been amazing. And that's where Ken comes into play. So the transition from the middle school to high school was always the big jump. You know, what's it going to look like? How's it going to go? And you know, Ken and Sarah have been wonderful champions of it. And then Jonathan Shanks, you know, starting here at Todd and then moving to high school really has helped just facilitate that growth. And I think it's going to be seen as a program that we definitely need here as we're talking about that our students changing, having that there. And what we're finding is kind of when we do stuff here, we do it well. You know, going back to P2, we kind of being recognized about that, and then doing the Let Grow and the Anxious Generation stuff, we recognize about Let Grow corporation. So it's, you know, a lot of times we're doing these, but we're doing them with such, we're almost for leaders. Right? So leaders in the P2 movement, we're leaders in the Let Grow movement. And then when we had the meeting with the Avid people, I mean, nothing ever came of it, but she was so impressed with how Ken and Dan had, you know, moved this to high school, where they were also talking about spectacle being leaders with that. So I just appreciate us not only doing it, but doing it with the passion that has come with sort of this recognition. And then my final thank you is Jody. I'm glad you stayed, because I wanted to thank her and for her class, the participation in government, and really giving us the heads up about the number of kids who were coming and getting them to come. It was great to see the number of them. It was interesting how when Mr. Lewis got up, they all cleared out. So, they were actually principal of your students. No, you gave them permission, which was
Middle school principal.
you know, and then just thank the board for all their, support and, programs that we have here. You can see how, we're definitely doing it with Fidelity. So, thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. So that brings us to 9.01. Ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? With enthusiasm.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.